From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your afternoon update.
Well, if you want to continue to follow the weather wherever you are from your phone, be sure to download the free Weather NorCal app. You can do it today from the App Store. Just search for Weather NorCal. You can see the logo right here, the W over the N. Of course, you can see the color scheme. You'll recognize it. Download it for free, and you can have everything Weather NorCal has to offer right there on your phone. Let's get you right to the weather headlines. We do have that extended heat wave going really through all of next week. Warm overnight lows will continue. We saw the last two mornings in Redding broke the record of the warmest low on record for those 2 days on Tuesday and of course this morning as well. Hot and dry and windy conditions will be creating that high fire danger once again today. We're already seeing those changes through the morning into the afternoon with what we're starting to see some behavior from the Thompson fire down near Oroville. Also, the winds are expected to die down, though. That's the good news. The wind should be weaker as we go into the next few days. Here's your neighborhood at a glance. Temperatures most likely around 110 degrees, give or take for the valley. 90s for most of the higher elevations, and in Trinity County, it definitely should be a bit on the warmer side. And look at the coast. I mean, you're looking at those temperatures getting into the low 70s for those temperatures. All right, we're going to talk about, of course, the Thompson fire, but a lot of the data that you're seeing here hasn't changed since this morning, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time going over the fire details. If you want to get more fire details, nothing new from what I could report right now, be sure to watch the morning update. Of course, all you have to do is go to YouTube and you can check out some of the historical data there. But what we're seeing here are some of the hot spots that are still being detected. And of course, these are also some of those hot spots. The red indicating what was indicated in the last 12 hours or so today. This is from yesterday. So that, of course, is where that fire started, and it kind of spread east and not to mention northeastward as well. So let's take a look at the forecast winds, because the forecast smoke, because we're seeing the smoke later on this afternoon and evening push a little bit more towards the Quincy area, right, as it heads off to the north and east. Then as we go into tonight, this is around midnight tonight, it looks like it's going to kind of hover right around over the Chico area. We'd probably be looking at some dense smoke there. Some of that smoke will work its way northward tomorrow morning in the form of most likely some haze, but you'll notice that the overall amount of smoke that we see is going to start to decrease overnight tonight and into tomorrow morning, which is obviously very good news. And then as the winds begin to pick up again Thursday afternoon, even though they will be weaker, we'll still be looking at the potential for some of that smoke. But notice, because the winds are weaker, we're not seeing as much of that smoke, number one, getting produced, and number two, it's not reaching as far. So Quincy, you'll probably start to see a little bit of that smoke here tomorrow afternoon, but probably won't be as bad. And then it looks like as we go into your Thursday night, again, it's going to kind of hover over the Chico area around Quincy, and we may see it kind of migrate again northward as we head out towards the Red Bluff and the Redding area. And again, that's for tomorrow night that we're looking at here. So again, as I mentioned, I'm not going to do a whole lot of talking about the fire because, again, there hasn't been a whole lot of new developments from the image and data coming in. However, there are a few things that I really would like to talk about, and that, of course, is we look at the fire and the progression of it and what we're seeing with the smoke. This is the latest image coming in as of about 11:30 this morning when I'm recording this update here. So you can see, look at that. I mean, the smoke, not that bad. You see how it's just kind of pushing itself down to the south, right? And then the winds picked up this morning, and now the plumes of smoke because the fire is getting more active as the winds begin to blow on it. Look at the shift of the winds. Now they're moving towards the north and eventually kind of coming more towards the camera, because again, that's what we were talking about with the smoke forecast coming towards the Quincy area. So as the smoke comes towards us, the camera vantage point behind us is, of course, where the Quincy area is, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So again, the fire is situated right right about here is where the fire is situated, kind of in this general area right here. So as the smoke kind of comes towards the camera, it's moving in this direction. That's what we saw with the smoke forecast. And then of course it will start to kind of move up and over the camera, past it, then into the Quincy area as well, as I mentioned here. So that's kind of looking at the latest when we're talking about the smoke. I want to show you this too. You can also see, let me go ahead and update this here and give the latest. So you can kind of see the progression of that smoke as well. See how it's moving to the south. Now it's shifting more to the east out towards the Quincy area, as I mentioned. Now another thing I want to point out here, and I want to show you the heat signature coming out of this as well. Overnight, we saw a lot less activity where we're seeing less and less. So I'm going to stop this motion here. You see overnight, we just didn't see much of that orange, but look at that orange dot as we go into the morning hours. You see how it begins to flare up. That, unfortunately, is because the winds began to pick up again this morning and into the afternoon as we go into the afternoon, and that's the reason why we're seeing more activity coming out of that fire. So that obviously is something we don't want to see here. Now, we take a look at the latest coming in out of the Thompson fire here. Of course, we've got evacuation orders in a lot of the same places you've been hearing about it. Still, latest report as of this morning, a little over 3,000 acres with no reports of any containment. Latest coming in as of 11:32 this morning from Butte County Small Animal Shelter update. The small animal shelter at Del Oro is at capacity and cannot accept any more animals. They're looking to get more in the facility, so that could become a bit of a problem. Also, they were talking about getting more aircraft on this fire as well. So if you want to know where your zone is, if you live in a zone here, I want you to first and foremost go to weathernorcal.com. When you go to weathernorcal.com, go to the fire danger section, click on that. Now, the best and easiest way for you to do this, you go down here, and a lot of times you can get it from Zone Haven or what's now known as the Genesis Project. Unfortunately, Butte County is not part of that. So what you've got to do is you've actually got to go up to the Thompson fire here and watch duty, and what you'll see here right there, just click on the evacuation zone. So again, when you go into watch duty here on the Weather NorCal page here, you'll see right there the Butte County evacuation zone map. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on that for you to show you what it takes you to, and essentially it takes you to a map. And there you can see all of the different zones. Now, really, what you can do with the zone is once you can really zoom in on the zone and pick out a street or different streets. So Pioneer Trail, Mountain Ida Road, those are in Butte OSE-819. And again, this is something you want to find out which one you live in before any fire starts. So when you see that, you can get an idea. Now, a lot of people complain about seeing these numbers and these zones. Unfortunately, that's really the best way to do it, folks, because there's so many street names that you got to get to. You just want to know your street. We get that. I get that. But if you can get a better sense of what the zones are, at least your particular zone, that will certainly make it a lot easier. Here's your fire weather outlook coming in from the National Weather Service. It's in the elevated risk, which is the reason why we have the red flag warning conditions still today. No big changes, nothing to really report here, just the fact that it's going to be windy, dry, and not to mention very hot out there as well. So let's take a look at the wind pattern over the next several days. So the winds continue to be a factor even this evening, but it looks like even as we go into tomorrow morning, still a bit breezy out there, right? But the good news is, as we go into Thursday afternoon, notice what's happening. Overall, we're just not seeing very much in the way of winds. Even the coast seeing a bit of a break from these winds as well. Take you into your Friday, yeah, a little breezy. You're getting in the 10 to 15 mile an hour range, but at least we're not in that 20 to 30 mile an hour range, and that really can make a big difference when you're talking about fighting those fires for the firefighters. All right, there's your fire weather risk for today. It's in the high, very high to even extreme category. Look at tomorrow. Even though the winds died down, it's still very dry and still very hot. That's why we're in the high category here for the valley. But look at the mountains. Because of the fact that it's been so dry and it's heating up, we're also seeing the moderate to high category for some of the the higher elevations as well. So we're beginning to see that the fire danger spread out of the valley and now making its way into the mountains. Look at this, by Friday 4 p.m. we're still in the very high to even extreme range in some spots for the valley, despite the fact that the winds won't be as strong. But look at the mountains. We're beginning to see a lot more yellows and even oranges popping up on the map, indicating a lot of the mountain communities are going to be looking at that higher fire danger in the days to come. Here's the big ridge of high pressure that is in place right here. That's the ridge that's going to give us the hotter temperatures. You look at all the heat alerts. There are excessive heat warnings and heat advisories. Essentially, most of these are going all the way through next Tuesday. This is a heat wave that's going to pretty much last through at least the middle, if not latter part of next week. And something that we've been watching here, and something I've been talking about over the last few days, we are going to watch these watches and warnings work their way northward into Oregon and Washington. That's essentially what's happened. We've got those excessive heat warnings, and not to mention the heat advisories. We've also got excessive heat watches in making its way into Idaho. It's also working its way eastward as well into places like Nevada and into western portions of Arizona as well. This is a big deal, folks. We may be used to the heat around here, but heat like this is dangerous for anyone. I don't care how used to it you are, you've got to take care of yourself and others. So this ridge of high pressure is the reason why, with the flow around that high, giving us the windy conditions. Now, one of the good things coming out of this area of high pressure moving closer to us is the fact that the winds will now be off to our north and east. We're not concerned about the winds anymore. However, one of the bad things with that is, as we see that ridge of high pressure barrel right on top of us, that's when we expect those temperatures to really increase. We're talking 110, between 110 and 120. Now, are we going to get up to 120? I'm not anticipating that, but Redding may meet the all-time record high of 118 degrees. Now, by Sunday, the temperatures will start to slowly drop, but not by much. It's still going to be very hot. This ridge of high pressure, even though it's going to be centered to our south and east, it's going to persist and stay there through all of next week. It's not moving that far away from us. Now, as a result, we're still looking at temperatures between 105 and even over 110 degrees for the valley, but at least that bubble of heat is not right on top of us. By the way, this area of low pressure right here, that could potentially, by the end of next week, bring in more of a delta breeze. Not a huge influence on us, but Sacramento, maybe even Chico, could feel the impacts of more of a delta breeze and that marine layer. But for today, no delta breeze at all. Temperatures 110 degrees, give or take, for the valley, 90s for many of the higher elevations, and in the low 70s out along the coast. Let's take a look at your 7-day outlook. We'll take a look at the valley first, and you've got 110 degrees or higher for Redding Wednesday today, all the way through next Tuesday. We've got temperatures in Red Bluff most likely above 110 degrees or higher, although by Monday, Tuesday, dropping down to about 109. For Chico, you're going to be about 110 degrees. The peak, you'll notice for everyone, for the most part, will be Friday and Saturday, right? And then those temperatures do start to drop slightly, but still very hot as we go into Sunday and into early next week. Your North Coast, inland, and your Trinity County neighborhood forecast, 7 days. There you can see, of course, inland, still over 100 degrees even into next Tuesday. That's also the case for Weaverville. The coast, you're going to be in the 70s through Sunday, but I do expect temperatures to drop into the 60s again by next Monday and Tuesday. Let's take a look at your 7-day outlook for Siskiyou County and Mount Shasta in particular, Modoc County, and then of course the eastern mountains. Temperatures still in the 90s today. 90s for Alturas and Susanville tomorrow, but right around 100 degrees tomorrow for Mount Shasta City. And then those temperatures over 100 degrees for Mount Shasta, not to mention Alturas through next Tuesday, and that's also the case for Susanville. This heat wave, as I mentioned, it's going to stick around most likely through the middle, if not latter part of next week.
At Wind River Resort and Casino, we like to celebrate life's little moments. Oh, and the big ones too, because around here, when you're completely in the moment, that's when the magic happens. Come in and find your moment at Wind River Resort and Casino.